Welcome back, Inebri-art. It has been a long time since we've had this many guests on. Um, but an old friend of mine I saw had a comic book project coming out, so I figured I would reach out. The project is called Dirty Living, a neo noir gore gore fest. Is gore fest used in the press release? I'm gonna say gore fest. Um,
Gorefest, yes.
but it takes place in Boston, which I love. And so joining us, we have three people. We have Christian De Matteo, editor for Fugitive Poems. Sorry, it took me a second to read that. I should have been more prepared. But we also have Stephen Beccia, who is the writer of Dirty Living, and our old friend Ryan Santos, artist extraordinaire. Welcome to
How's
the
it
show,
going?
everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
So, whose brainchild is this? Like, where did this come from? Who,
Uh,
who who needs the therapy the most? I suppose that's really the question.
uh, I guess that would be me. I I don't know. I've always had a thing for mobster movies and books and The Godfather, and I always got into the Whitey Bulger stuff in Boston, and it's always a thing when I'm writing. It's like, hey, what if, right? And then and it just became a thing. I don't know. I just started thinking about this guy and taking down the mob, and then some supernatural stuff started happening, and the rest is history, I guess you could say.
Is it a one shot or multi book series, or like what's kind of the format?
Well, right now there's I mean, I have one arc, but I really see some spinoffs as I've been writing it. So I can definitely see a couple books out of this at least.
We are this is the maiden voyage for Fugitive Poems online subscription series. So it's a comic you can get immediately. Every 3 months, there's a new one that comes out. So we're gonna do the first arc. And I love Steven's idea because I don't know if you know the Criminal series by Ed Brubaker and
Mm-hmm.
Stephen Phillips. Every one of their arcs is the different main character within that world, and I love that Stephen is thinking about that, and the lushness with which Ryan draws all the characters. You can see any of them heading up a series. So
Yeah.
right now, issue one is out on the website, fugitivepoems.com, and every 3 months there'll be a new one. And I've already read the script for two, and it's just fantastic.
So Dirty Living is more the world than the character, and it's the stories are kind of different characters in that world. Is that?
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, you think a little bit like Sin City.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was my original thought. One of my other original things is like, I got these main characters. I got a priest. I got a cop. I got this psychotic woman stalker. She's on some sort of vendetta, and then then we get the mobster, and then we get some other characters that are going to be coming into play. So, and then we have some. I don't want to call them zombies because they're not zombies. But
I was
they're
going to ask that. It the press release mentions the undead, but doesn't specifically say zombies. So I was kind of
no,
curious if that was an intentional
yeah,
deletion.
no. It's we're just going to call it the undead. It's not. I don't want to go the zombie route because it's really not. They're not quite zombies, right, Ryan?
Yeah, yeah. They're more like reanimated dead people. You know,
Exactly.
they they try to right. They try to make them like resume their life. They're trying to just bring them back as normal people, but it just doesn't quite pan out.
Yeah, they've maintained their personality,
Yep.
um, and they're as surprised at what's happening as anyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
almost has more of a like traditional voodoo zombie style to it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and everybody that is going to be undead will have different things, different malfunctions, should we say, about them. Uh, and I don't want to give too much away, but the priest's mother, she she's going to have a scene and it's going to be comical yet frightening at the same time. So there'll be a flashback that's going to happen in a couple of issues from now.
And Ryan, how'd you get involved in this?
Well, we were at a show. I was at a show, and then this random person just walked up to me.
Yeah, random.
And asked me, "Oh, I really like your work. It's great. You know, I have a story. Let me send it to you. We'll talk. You know, whatever." And then, I read it, and it was perfect for me. You know, it's like everything I like. It was noir. It was like, gore and like fun characters, and I can see the hint of humor in a lot of it. So it was perfect for me. So me and Steven started talking for a while, got together, and kind of workshopped the first issue. So we put together kind of like a package of like artwork. We kind of wrote like a condensed version of the first issue, and then we kind of shopped it around for a little bit. Yeah, this is years ago, it seems.
It
But
was.
yeah. But that's how it is, But then after COVID hit, we kind of all got back together, and then it hit off, So that's how we got together with Fugitive Poems. We met Fugitive Poems before COVID, and then everything shut down. So
We met at Terrificon. We were tabling there with our comics, and I was wandering around, and I met Ryan, and he's such a great, personable guy. We started talking, and he gave me the ash can for Dirty Living, and I brought it back to my partner, who's the artist, and he was head over heels for the art. I loved the story, and then there was a big break in before we got back to it. Luckily, Stephen and Ryan are both bulldogs, and they politely and gently kept on us. And when we decided to launch the subscription series, we were like, we know the perfect comic to be our maiden voyage.
So talk to me about the subscription service. Is this like a digital copy or is this a hard copy?
It is right now. We're doing it as a digital copy, but it's only behind our paywall on Fugitive Poems.
Yeah.
So we've updated the old Marvel subscription service. Remember, you used to fill out the little form at the back of the issue and mail it in with the checking off what you wanted. What we're doing is you go to fugitivepoems.com, and right now you click on Dirty Living, and the book is only $2.99 every 3 months, and every 3 months a new issue comes out. And we have a couple other teams that we're talking to right now to put other issues up there, and whatever one you want, you can subscribe to it. It's sort of the timing is ideal with the death of Diamond Distributors. Because
Whoa, hang on. Sorry. Diamond's dead?
Diamond has filed Chapter 11.
Oh, burn in hell.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the best news I've heard in a long time.
Well, they were horrendous gatekeepers.
Oh, they're terrible.
Yep. So the question is, how do indie artists get their stuff out there? It already wasn't easy with Diamond.
Yeah.
But then, still now that was a major source of comics. And we had been working on this subscription service idea for a while. And it was like, holy crap, this is the moment. This is the time we can raise these flags. One of the missions of Fugitive Poems is to raise the flags of indie creators and get them seen. There's that old thing that you can't get published till you're published. And we said, well, fuck it. Let's start publishing these incredible people out there. And we put our own stuff out as well. But that's how the subscription service works. You go right to our website, you join, and boom, you have it. Like you could have it if you're listening to this, you could have it right in this instant. And that's what we wanted. was
I mean, they should probably listen to the whole episode
well,
before.
no, naturally,
Yeah.
yes.
We'll do a read along.
Yeah. Chapter 1. What character do I get to read?
Oh, I know all the voices. When I'm drawing them, I have all the voices in my head.
Oh, do you? That's
Dude,
funny.
now I need to hear this.
I do.
That's funny. Like, I dabble a little bit in writing, and I have to cast the characters as actors so I can hear like their voice and kind of like how their character would speak.
Yep.
Without that, like that's when I have trouble like with the dialogue where I'm like, I just don't know what this person sounds like or their mannerisms. And
exactly. You for me when I'm writing, the dialogue is important to me because you real people talk and they sound normal, and when you read some of these books and some of these comics, sometimes it doesn't sound real, and I'm like, I don't know if people really talk like that. And so I'm writing and I'm talking out loud, like the main character Doug. How would he be speaking, internally? How would he be speaking to somebody? And then like there's a mortician, and I just always go to that oh, that voice there, I'm a mortician.
That's what morticians sound like.
Yeah.
Geez.
Yeah, kind of like I don't know who that would be, but yeah, this so you come up with these voices in your head and you talk like they would talk, and so I like to talk them out loud and then write it down.
Yeah, it's interesting. You said like you try to write like normal people talk. I had sent the script I was working on to a friend, and he goes, "People don't talk like that." I go, "Well, no, it's a movie. Like people don't necessarily like you want it to sound natural, but like turned up. I guess is the best way to say it. Like,
Yes.
it has to be dramatic, so you don't."
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a fine line where you don't want to seem like Shakespearean, but you don't want it to be a person who's like so it's this kind of weird mix of like making it sound realistic and natural, but it's not quite that level.
Right.
Everyone praises Kevin Smith for how natural his characters sound.
Mm-hmm.
And I always laugh
Yeah.
at that because they're not natural. They're natural amplified to its best quality.
Yeah.
And you're right, there are no ums or uhs, but every character speaks in sort of an iconic way. But it's so well written. You're like, yeah, I know somebody who talks like that. But you're right, they're not umming and ahhing. They're not forgetting their thought process in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And they're crafted to be funny. And I think that that's really important. If you can, Tarantino does that too. It's stylized, which is really what it is, to get the soul of the person on the page.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the way the conversation would really go, but the best, most exciting stylized version of that.
Yeah. Tarantino's like the perfect example because his stuff is almost bordering on grindhouse Shakespeare, like
Ooh,
they give such like monologues and dramatic moments, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels like, oh, that is just a guy talking to his buddy about what they call a burger over in Europe. But like he does such a phenomenal job of making it dramatic and still sound natural. And that's a super hard thing to do.
Right.
You look at the character of the wolf in Pulp Fiction, the Harvey Keitel character. That whole scene, you just said it. Grindhouse Shakespeare. Everything is stilted. The language is stilted, but it doesn't feel.
Copyright that, trademark. Right. So.
Yeah, like on this next episode, Grindhouse Shakespeare.
Yeah,
it's really funny because we've been leaning into that at Fugitive Poems. Is that we realize that what we put out has a real grindhouse feel to it.
Yeah.
But our marketing person, Chandler Kidd, who I'm shouting her out because she's one of the coolest people ever. We were going back and forth about something, and Grindhouse is generally low budget. And we're like, well, that's not us, but every other aspect is. And that's sort of what Tarantino is. It's high budget,
Mm-hmm.
but it's got that Grindhouse feel. And that's one of the things that really attracted me to Dirty Living. And whenever I get a new script from Steven, I hear it in there. And then Ryan makes that perfect on the page. But that is what they are. It's high quality Grindhouse. It's a celebration of Grindhouse, and these guys are the ideal team for it.
And that grindhouse vibe is, came from low budget, but I feel like now is more authentic's not the right word. It's more like I always say this about horror movies in general is like fans are so much more forgiving because they want the good, creepy, gory story. And they're like, we're not the mainstream. We're not going to get Avengers budget. So they kind of look over a lot of things that if you were going to see Avengers that you would pick apart, but they're like, no, 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 it's a horror movie. So like that kind of grindhouse, vibe
Mm.
kind of fits all of that.
Sure. Well, it's sort of Grindhouse meets pulp,
Yeah.
and I'm a big fan of the pulp era. And
Right.
Dirty Living really, you've got that neo noir mixed with the supernatural, and that is Grindhouse pulp.
Ryan, when you were working on the art for this, did you like I'm familiar with your work, obviously. Um, did you want this to have kind of its own visual specific look to this opposed to like your other work? Like did you try
Yeah.
is it the Ryan Santos style or is it more dirty living style? Like, I mean, like I don't know
No,
if that question came through.
no, it is. It is a lot my style. Like when it comes to like the storytelling part, like the interior art. That's my style, right? That's the way
Mhm.
I do it. Like no matter what the story would be, it's still that kind of look. A lot of it is like Mobius, like European kind of a lot of nitpicking and all that kind of stuff. That's just ingrained in me.
Mhm.
Because I trained as a classical painter, like and like a fine artist, so I have all those skills. But when it comes to especially this story, let it be dirty, let it be, you know, I, let it be wonky.
Mhm.
I went through the whole first issue without using a ruler. That's kind of my thing. Like I don't like to have a straight line. I like everything to have a little bit of that kind of that dirt of the city in there,
Yeah.
So I really think I can feel that city as a character, in the whole story, So that's why I think it's great if Steven's thinking about pushing it to other characters because, no matter where the story goes, that feel, is important about like the story, no matter where it goes. So it's me.
Yeah.
I feel like it's
Yeah.
me.
It's
Yeah,
Steven. It's Steven. So it's set in Boston. Is that like because that's the local thing, and you want to like, or like, how important is Boston to
uh,
it
it,
being in the location?
yeah. I mean, Winter Hill, right? That's Whitey Bulger's um, stomping grounds, and a little bit of Whitey Bulger's history inspired me into the stuff he did and the stuff that went on. I mean, if you've watched the Departed or there's a bunch of movies. So, but I mean, of course, living in Massachusetts, Boston is the place, right? You got you got the dirty water. You got the Tobin Bridge. There's a lot of things for me that I was like, yeah, this is a perfect location for this. Not New York, not Detroit, not L.A. Boston. It's a perfect place for this. So
Yeah, the thing I love about Boston is you can tell it's an old city. New York being laid out on a grid. Not that it's not an old city, but Boston has that vibe where you could turn down an alleyway and you're like, oh, there's a whole different weird kind of building stuck in this alleyway for some reason. But
yeah,
it's just not like the perfect example is there's a meme that's been going around for years, and it shows like the Boston, the New York grid streets, and it's like New York because you want to know where you're going, and it says Boston because fuck you, and it's just the spaghetti. Every time I go to Boston, it's
Yeah.
just like it's another way out. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Your GPS should be screaming at you, rerouting, because you pull down. You're right. You pull down a street, and you're like, wait, there's a house in the middle of the street. Oh, this isn't really a street. Hold on, let me go up.
yeah.
And you're going up these cobblestone streets, and you're like, where the fuck am I right now?
Yeah. Your GPS says turn left, and you're like, you can't possibly mean this left.
Right?
Is that a left? Yeah.
Right, because they changed these damn streets. So weird story, but true. I was going to court for this thing. We'll leave it at that.
Okay.
And I was following my GPS. Well, I was following my GPS, and I was all of a sudden it said turn left. I'm like, and I couldn't because they were doing road construction. They had turned this one way. They turned this two way into a one way, and there was no way I could go up that one way. So I'm like, I just need to get on the other side of this street to where I gotta go.
Yeah.
I tried to reroute. I tried to go miles down the street to turn around. Finally, I'm like, I got to go up this road to get there because I'm running late. And I'm just like, screw it. Looking, and I'm like, I just went up the one way, the wrong way. But
and that is, and God forbid you miss your turn.
Right.
And then it was we were coming back from an event one time, and the GPS is like, turn right onto the on ramp for I-93, and it closed the ramp. And I'm like, what the? In that case, thank God for GPS, because you just keep driving until it reroutes you in a different direction.
Yes.
But, I've gotten to the point where like I've been driving. I'm like, why am I going over bridge now? Like I shouldn't be crossing the Charles. It's always it's a mystery.
And the one good thing that we have here is when you're on the highway, at least we say, exit this in 1 mile, right?
Yeah.
When I went out to California back in the 80s, my buddy and I were driving. We're going to LA one night, and we're like, okay, I think this, because no GPS, we were just like, I think we got to get off on this exit, or whatever it was, and the friggin' exit just came up on us like we had no idea, because there was no advance notice. It wasn't like exit such and such in 1 mile. So we're looking for the exit. All of a sudden, it's 4 lanes over because there's so many damn lanes. Yeah. So then we got off the next exit. Figured, we could loop around, and the next thing you know, there's cars on fire. We're in East LA. It was a bad scene, and I'm like, we got to get the hell out of here. It was, but it's that's one good thing about New England, and I'm sure they've changed that by now in California. But anyway, sidetracked.
Yeah. Well, that's the normal thing for this show. So you guys have mentioned Criminal and Sin City. Is this so it feels like it's kind of like clearly in its genre of noir. Would it be, is it kind of like a whodunit detective kind of thing, or because it's supernatural, but noir, like to me, like a noir detective is kind of, there's the damsel in distress who comes into the office. Yeah. And so I suppose like I guess like what is the opening mystery? Like is he tracking down a murderer? Like how does it kick off?
It's not like a whodunit. I wouldn't put it like that. It's kind of like this good cop getting a bunch of shit thrown in his face left and right, and having to solve. It's like a puzzle, having to solve a murder, take down the mob, and then get this supernatural thing thrown at him, and he's going to need to figure that out and get to the bottom of it. So he's basically following a crumb path, and he's just going to figure it out as he goes.
It's more of a who's doing what and how the fuck did I get involved in this?
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
also a new drug on the street that's majorly problematic. He's got this stalker after him and he doesn't know why. So every now and again, he's just getting shot at and he doesn't know who the fuck is shooting at him. He's got to deal with his family legacy, which is mob related. And what's the other big thing? And, and then, of course, all of a sudden, there's a supernatural element that he doesn't have time to even think about. He has to sort of just adapt to it. And there's no supernatural element in this world. So it's not like people are like, oh, well, the undead pop up now and again. No, this is a brand new thing. And the cool thing, we were talking about this the other day, is that Doug Kelly is utterly unprepared for any of this.
Right.
He's not the guy. I just watched The Man from U.N.C.L.E. the other day. I don't know if you've seen that with Henry Cavill and
Oh
Armie
no.
Hammer. It's terrific. It's a Guy Ritchie movie. But these guys are suave.
Yeah.
They're trained spies. They know they're in their world. They know what to do in every situation. Doug Kelly is a drunk who has all the right intentions, but is all of a sudden thrust not into one situation, but at least four at once, and he has no time to think. He just has to act. That's one of the things that really attracted me to the story.
Yeah, right. No time to think, no time to act. And I was talking to Ryan the other day. He's like, all right, pace a little bit more. And I said, you know what, Ryan? In issue 3, I'm going to give you 4 panels of Doug just peeing against the building because you never see you never see somebody taking a shit or taking a piss in a book or in a story anytime. I'm like, you know what? Here we go. We're going to slow things down, and Doug's going to take a very long piss.
I'm all for it. Bring it on.
Yeah, what happens if you are in the middle of a chase, you're being shot at, and you really got to take a leak? I mean, because that's an all-encompassing thought in real life. It's like
It
no
is.
matter what's going on, you're like, yes, but I need to piss right now. That could add a lot of tension.
It can.
That's it's I like that kind of like realistic thinking about like how it's gritty, but it's also kind of like really set in a realistic tone. And I think some of the best stuff can come from that when it's. I think that's like why Shaun of the Dead is so good.
Oh,
You know,
God, that movie.
Yeah.
it's just like they're normal guys, and it's the zombie apocalypse, but they're gonna run down to the shop and get a drink. It's
Right.
it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
so normal, and it's something that everybody can relate to. And Yeah.
I've always, and it still happens, right? But I'm always watching movies and going, wow, they missed something here, or this is just it's not realistic. And now I know a lot of people will take things just for, okay, this is it, this is the movie, this is how it goes, this is how it should be. But I'm just like, I always want to, like, no, this has got to be real. It's got to be somewhat real. I mean, I know I'm adding supernatural to the friggin' story, but I tried to make it as real as possible so the people would be like, okay, this isn't too far off, but I don't know. Every time I'm watching something these days, especially some of these Netflix movies, I'm just like, oh, you missed something here, buddy, and just, oh, this would never happen, and I'm too critical. So,
and it's tough. I feel like that is very ingrained in the comic book culture, is to be very critical.
Yeah.
And it was one of the things that I found super annoying sometimes, because you'd be like, oh, I really like this movie, and then someone's like, well, and they point out something where you're like, oh fuck, if you didn't say that,
right?
Now I'm not ever gonna not notice that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
I
I was
just
just
want to say one of the things that we didn't do that right. One of the things that most attracted me to this comic is that it is so based in reality. They say in order to tell a great lie, it should be 99% true. And that's sort of how I approach fiction, and Stephen does too. This supernatural element is in the middle of everything else that's completely realistic. And real people are reacting to the holy shit of it.
Yeah.
And Stephen and Ryan together have put together a world where you can touch the walls, you can feel the ground under your feet. You know this world. You could go walking through Winter Hill, and it would look the way that they're presenting it, and the characters would talk the way they're saying it. And there also happens to be an undead problem, and nobody there is prepared for it. So that is that 99% true, 1% what the fuck, and I love it.
and that old lady. I know I've seen her somewhere before. Baggy socks, smoking a butt, walking her dog, pissing on a
Yeah.
mailbox.
So Ryan
Yeah,
and
it's all those odd little details.
yeah.
It's
Did
all
you
it's all the odd details that really make the world seem lived in. You know, it's the same thing as with having characters doing normal things. It makes you relate to them as a person, and it makes you feel for them more. You know, it's important that empathize with your main characters, or just they do regular things. So it's important to me to make that happen. Show
yeah.
all those kind of weird little things.
There's
Yeah.
so much pathos in your art. I mean, you feel the place, you feel the characters. So Andy, the panel of the old lady, it's a couple of pages in, and she just gets she has not earned it at all. She gets a full panel, but Ryan makes her earn it with the wrinkles on her face. It's like a female old lady Tommy Lee Jones, and right there, and she's the fucking neighborhood. I'm a huge fan of Raymond Chandler's detective novels, and the man could sum up a neighborhood in a paragraph. Ryan does that with a single image, and there's just this. Here you are in Winter Hill. What is Winter Hill? It's this little old lady walking her dog who would tell you to fuck off if you looked at her for too long. And
Exactly.
it's all in this one facial expression. And now you know where the cops are patrolling and what they're up against on a daily basis. One panel. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Fucking Ryan's amazing.
Did you guys try to
Absolutely.
work in kind of like Easter eggs of Boston, either in the art or the writing?
Um, I don't know. Maybe a little bit here and there, but Ryan puts in some fun stuff.
There's a lot of fun stuff. There's a couple of little Easter eggs, but I'm not huge, hugely focused on drawing the proper buildings, and the bridges have to be perfect. It's kind of like a warped view a little bit,
Yeah.
but you can feel Boston a lot of the time in there.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
I did focus on, making sure like the Tobin Bridge was in there. We made sure that's in there. And, I think when something's iconic, we'll throw it in there. But other than that, it's Ryan's vision on the page, how he reads the script and what he decides to draw. And, and I'll tell you, if you haven't seen the artwork yet, it'll blow your mind. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Frankie White. I'm sorry, Andy.
No, no worries.
Frankie White is an incredible comic creator. He did 25th. He's got Who Killed Sarah Shaw on Kickstarter right now. He's a great, great writer. I sent him a copy of Dirty Living, and he got back to me, and is a busy dude. Got back to me so fast, said the art just blew my mind. And I don't know, I haven't even told you guys yet, but I've got two quotes on the web page, fugitivepoems.com, the Dirty Living page, from two different creators, and both of them went absolutely nuts for the art. And then Frankie was like, the story is great. It's a seedy city story, and it's perfect for what it is. But Ryan, your art is knocking people on their asses. I've been sharing it with different people, and every time I get it back, first reaction is, holy shit, this is gorgeous. And
Oh, thank
it's
you.
Ryan's emotions looking at Boston. It's Ryan's feel for the grit of it, and that Tobin Bridge scene is so real in its unreality. It's perfect. This is the feel of the Tobin Bridge, and everyone I send it to is awed. I mean, you got to check it out. You got to get a copy. I am so honored that we're producing this because this is high quality.
Is there a plan to do a physical copy in the future, or is it just going to stay digital?
My desire, based on what goes on going forward, uh, is I think this is going to be a huge hit, and I think people are really going to get into the story. And what I'd like to do is publish a trade paperback of the first arc, which I think would be really cool to see. So you read it online, and you read the comic online, and then we put out each arc. We put out sort of like Criminal, actually, or Sin City. We put out the arc in a book in a trade paperback, because I think that if I was getting it physically, I'd want to sit down and get the entire thing,
Mm-hmm.
and that's our plan going forward.
Yeah, and I mean, it is, talking to a bunch of people who've done tons of comic book shows, it's that to tell someone, oh, you should go home and, download my comic or subscribe or whatever, but to have the hard copy where they can get you to sign it, and it's just a different experience and more engaging, I think, that
Agreed.
on that side.
I
Oh,
find
yeah.
myself at shows, however, hesitant to buy issues because
Oh, for sure.
from indie creators, it's like, okay, but when am I going to get the next one or
Hmm.
whatnot? I think if you can hand someone something and say this is a beginning, middle, and an end, and it's about to blow your head off,
Yeah.
that's powerful and something somebody's willing to invest in.
Yeah. The number of creators I've seen over the years that sat for like 4 years behind the same two issues of their
Right.
comic book, being like, well, the third one's coming out soon. You're like, what's soon?
Yeah.
But to their
Yeah.
credit, I mean, it's very difficult to do, especially on a small budget, but it's,
Well,
yeah.
that's sort of our guarantee to our fans is this model, this every 3 month model.
Hmm.
You're only gonna get charged $2.99 every 3 months, and you'll be okay with that because as you're charged, the new comic is dropped. And Ryan and Steven are on it. Like I said, I've already seen the script for issue 2, and it's awesome. And Ryan is already working on it. Ryan
Oh, yeah.
mocked up a cover for it that I was just like, yes, that's the one.
Yeah. So if you enjoyed the art of the first one, this issue 2 is just gonna like you're gonna shit your pants. I'm enjoying drawing the panels as they come. It's like so good. So I don't want to blow my own horn here, but
You should.
it's going to be great. I think it's going to be a fun issue. Yeah, a lot of cool new stuff that didn't exist in the first issue are now here. The
Yeah.
whole Blood Rush. Blood Rush is a big thing. It's like a game changer. So it's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's also I just wanted to mention it's like this whole thing is a really good marriage between myself, Ryan, and Christian, and Fugitive, because Christian and I have met several times on especially like on the first issue. Christian kept sending stuff back to me, and he goes, "Yeah, but I'm having a problem with this right here," and he goes, and he's really cool about it. He's like, "Don't kill me." And I, but so he's giving me the option to stay with it how it is if I really wanted to, but he's kind of pushing me a little bit.
Hmm.
And the more he pushed me on this one scene, I was up a whole night. And I sat there and I'm like, holy shit. I literally there was a hole so big in the friggin' in the story that I like, holy shit. And I figured it out. What I had to do. I put it all together, and thank God that Christian was pushing me because there was something I didn't see, and it would have just been like I would have looked back and said, "Holy shit, I missed something that was huge." Um, And then, so let's fast forward to issue 2. You know, Christian and I were sitting there, we're going through it, and he said, "Well, you know, he just kind of brought some things to light." And then I went back and I rewrote the issue 2. I still had, you know, obviously most of parts, but some stuff was like, okay, nope, nope, get rid of that, put this in, and the end result was it's so much better, and you know it's got a lot of humor in it as well as gore, and it's fun stuff. It's I can't wait to see what Ryan comes up with because it's fun.
Well, a credit to you for being open to feedback. I find that pretty much the way our society is, if you hand someone something that you've made and be like, "What do you think?" The general thing to do is just be like, "I love it. It's great." And so anytime anyone hands me like an album or something to read or a drawing or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, tell me what you think," I will literally say, "Do you want me to say it's great or do you want my honest opinion?" And it just kind of puts them in that mindset of like, "Oh, he's going to give me real feedback and it might not be 100% what I want to hear." And, you know, then I'm honest and I don't beat them up, but it's just like posing that, hey, what I'm going to say, I'm going to say some things and I'm not doing it to be mean. I'm trying, you know, you handed it to me, want my opinion, and I'm going to give you my opinion.
Right.
Yeah. I'm
I'm sorry, Ryan.
I'm definitely the guy that gives you. I'm definitely the guy that gives you the real deal. I never sugarcoat anything. So if someone gives me something and it's no good, I'll just say, "Oh, that's no good. You need to work."
Yeah.
I just tell them the way it is. So even with Steve, it's the same thing. Like, "Oh, that can change. That can change. You need to do something here." So I think all of us together working, as a team, it just really makes the story better. It'll make the art better. It just all helps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
You know
sure.
what's cool is that we're all
So feedback is very important.
we're all creators. I'm a writer.
Oh yeah.
Before I'm an editor, I'm a writer. And I think I'm a pretty good editor, but that's because I can see things from a distance in someone else's. I need an editor on everything I write. Mark Capitelli, who's the senior editor for Fugitive Poems, he reads everything I write. And the same shit I say to Stephen, he's saying to me. So
Mm-hmm.
I find something in Stephen's, like he mentioned, a plot hole. And meanwhile, I'm getting the same feedback on my own. It's so much easier to see somebody else's.
Yeah.
Uh, but the more you hone that craft, the better you get at writing when you're editing and the better you get at editing when you're writing. And I've got to say, at working as a team with these gentlemen, Ryan is 100% right. Ryan's commentary is so valuable, and he's coming from at it from the I have to draw this,
Yeah.
but it's more than that. He also sees the story because he has. I love what he said earlier about having voices in your head for all the characters. He's living this as he's drawing it, and he sees it. Stephen is amazing with feedback. He's also just an incredible writer, and it's so cool to me. This is a story I never would have thought of, and I love getting to play in this playground. And the three of us together, I think have been having a lot of fun, and I'm honored that Stephen isn't pissed at me. I always put at the end of my commentary. I always put at the end of my commentary. Please feel free to tell me to fuck off.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's there. It's there. True story. But now, I learned a long time ago that, I think somebody put me in my place when I was very, very young and says, "You really fucking think you know it all." And why don't you, open your eyes and think about some things and, open your eyes to some feedback. This is something very, very long time. When I was a really young kid, I just, we all think we all know it, when we're younger. And I was like, And I thought about it, and I went back, and whatever that person said to me, and I thought about it. I'm like, you know what, you're right. And ever since then, I'm just like, okay, I'm open to feedback, and more people should be because, this is it's a prime example of what you were saying. You shouldn't edit your own shit. Musicians should not be mixing their own music.
No.
It's just you shouldn't be doing it because you're too close to the project, you know? So yeah, it's just my 2 cents on that.
But a lot of the time, you know the answers to in your head, and you don't think to put it in the script. And someone asks you, like, "Well, why did she do that?" And you're like, "Well, blah blah blah." And they're like, "Yeah, that's not in there, dude. How am I supposed to know that?" It's like, "Well, because I've got the entire world in my head." It's like, "Yes, but you not need to give it to the reader." And that's one of my big problems, and that's what Mark catches me on a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Yeah. Christian, I think you mentioned, like, I said something about a Yankees fan, and you're like, how do we know this? I go, oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Um, everything's cool when you're working with a team, but when you're I was thinking about this though. So I had this commission. I'm also an artist. Well, I try to be, and I get this commission from somebody who said, it's a friend of mine. He actually lives in Middleborough, um, and he's like, I really want this, a cacophony of horses and chickens and beach waves and palm trees and iguanas in your own style of art. And I said, okay. So I'm like, what the hell am I gonna do? Because I gotta make this and then just go, all right, here you go, and and there's no editor, it's like you just gotta hope that somebody likes what you come up with.
Yeah,
You can't. I mean, I guess I could go back and because sometimes people will be like, "Well, can you add a cigarette pack in there or something?" You know, but that's a tough one.
yeah.
Steven,
Back in
what's your Instagram? Because people should see your art.
Stephen_Beccia.art.
Check it out. It's so cool.
Betches Beccia. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wait. Oh wait. Are you ready? Here's the
I'm ready.
commission.
Ah,
Oh, just
love the chicken.
wait. Can you show it
There
again?
it is.
As soon as you moved it, hang on. I'm gonna spot. Here. Oh, okay. Here. I just. Oh, that's great.
There it is.
Ah,
It's not my usual style of art. Well, I mean, it's my kind of corniness of art. But I mean, if this is more stuff behind me here,
Yeah.
you know, more Picasso-esque, um, or abstract, whatever. But yeah, this is it was fun. It was fun. It's always fun to create. I mean, I just like to create stuff. But
Yeah, sometimes people throw ideas at you, and like I worked for the phone company for a while, and I was doing like inner office art bullshit. It wasn't even like for public eyes, and they're like, "We want a Verizon Horizon." I'm like, "What does that mean?" And they go, "We don't know, but whatever you come up with, I'm sure we'll like." And you're like, "Awesome!" Like, let me go figure out what the hell that means.
yeah, yeah, you can't. Sometimes you just have to turn stuff down, and I've done it plenty of times. I'm like, I'm not a portrait painter. I'm not, I don't do that.
Yeah,
Wait a minute, I have 400, paintings in a room that you could choose from. That's up on my Instagram. Like choose one of those so I don't have to create, a new painting. But sometimes they're like, "Can you do this? Can you draw?" And of course, there's a big scam. That somebody wants you to paint their animal for their son's birthday party and then put the name of the animal underneath it. It's I've had those requests so many times on Instagram. It's
oh, yeah. Yeah. But so Dirty Living issue 1 is available on fugitivepoems.com. And you can subscribe and get a new issue every 3 months. Is that correct?
correct. Only $2.99.
$2.99.
What is that? An eighth of the price of a Starbucks coffee?
Who knows? That could be changing. I saw that there's going to be uh tariffs sanctioned on Colombia, and I'm like, oh, don't fuck with people's coffee. Like people are gonna get real mad real fast.
yeah.
Yeah. But where can our listeners go to find each of you on social medias and all that shit? Let's start with Ryan.
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Art of Ryan Santos. you can find me, look me up. I also have a website. It's theartofryansantos.com. Dirty living. There
Dirty
you
living. And Stephen,
Yeah.
do you have anything other than your Instagram or?
Facebook, Instagram. Those are two places you can find me. I mean, you just look for Dirty Living on Facebook. We have a page there, and or you can find me on Instagram. You can just look for my name. Google me, you'll find me.
Sweet.
And at Fugitive Poems on Twitter, at Fugitive Poems on Blue Sky, plus all those extra letters on Blue Sky that I don't fully understand. At Fugitive Poems on Instagram, and the most important is fugitivepoems.com, where now that we're ending the show, I hope you kept listening to the show, but now that we're ending, you want to go to fugitivepoems.com and get your
Yeah, now you
copy
can
of
go.
Dirty Living. Now you can go.
Yeah.
You can be looking at it right now. It's really quick and easy to get, and it's absolutely beautiful. Fugitive Poems, James and I are honored to be presenting this comic. And you know what it is? We produce shit we'd want to read. And this is something that I have had so much fun with. Stephen and Ryan are unbelievable, and we think you're going to love the comic too. Fugitivepoems.com, click on Dirty Living, and it could be in your belly that instantly.
Awesome. Thank you guys for coming on. This was pretty short notice. I think I just reached out to you guys like yesterday or the day before. It was we need an episode, so I was like, hey, let's get this going. But
right.
I want to say thank you to each of you for coming on, and feel free anytime you guys have stuff to promote, come on back. And that's pretty much it, listeners. We'll see you guys again next Monday.
All right. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And thanks for checking out the show today, listeners. If you enjoyed the content today, you can go over to patreon.com/Inebri-art to support the show. You can join over there for just a few dollars a month and help us provide this fun content that you just checked out. You can also email us at inebriart.com with your questions, complaints, and concerns, or you can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or at Inebri-art6 on Instagram. And also don't forget to check out our other shows, Bar Talk Podcast, Old Colony Cast, Inebri-art, and all the other shows on the Inebri-art Network, which you can find at inebriart.com. Thanks again for listening.